As you know, there's been a worldwide youth rebellion underway now for several years. In the mid-50s, Paul Goodman wrote about the alienated young in Growing Up Absurd. The 60s have proved him right.
The young are in a special situation in that they are alienated.
Paul is the great unrecognized genius of our time. He was a great writer, a great thinker, a great pioneer in psychology, sociology, even philosophy. I think at some point somebody's going to pick up the Empire City and say, wow.
For us, these people had a certain star quality. You know, while other people were looking at Tab Hunter or Rock Hudson or whoever they were, you know, we were looking at Goodman and Julian Beck and Judith Malina and Michael Harrington and Allen Ginsberg. They were the people who were our stars and models, and there was a certain amount of glamour.
The Cuban Missile Crisis carried with it a threat of death that you could feel in your bones. It was one of those situations that Paul often talked about where on one level you have a discourse that's very rational and people are making judgments based on game theory on the one hand, and on the other hand, it's totally crazy. We're in a situation where a couple of leaders and their administrations could bring down the planet. If there's one thing that has gone on, deeper and stronger and harder since Paul died, and that is the consolidation of state power, of corporate power, and media power. And it really, his work is grimly predictive along those lines.
Do remember simply this: pleasant, unemotional conversation helps digestion. With your own family, you can relax. Be yourself. Just be sure it's your best self.
I just liked him from the moment we met. He was perfectly easy to live with, quite pleasant. We never had big family arguments. He usually was home for dinner in the evening, often had sometimes his group sessions then, and I didn't feel left out of, I certainly didn't want to be part of his wandering around picking up guys in bars.
Now, when the open homosexual movement started, of course, they never mentioned Paul. And Percy felt the reason why they didn't mention Paul, who should have been a hero to them, was because Paul remained married and had a family.
My taste includes both snails and oysters.
He made passes at literally everybody. Everybody. Men and women and people's mothers, the president of the university and so forth, and didn't see what was wrong with it. Growing Up Absurd was a big success. It was almost a bestseller. Marshall McLuhan came along and took all these ideas. I think if Marshall McLuhan hadn't come along, except that he had to come along, things happened. Paul might have been, as Paul said, I see all of my ideas quoted in other people's books without giving me any credit.
Alka-Seltzer invents a new disease, the blahs. The blahs is kind of like the blues, only physical.
I suspect that as a person, he's not very well remembered, but his impact is all around us. The developments that he was instrumental in instigating, directing, influencing, and so on, those have changed the world. And in that sense, which is the most important sense, he's certainly not forgotten. By now he's part of ordinary life.
He thought. he would think things through, and he would analyze things. And now certainly we live in a time where thought is disdained. I mean, George Bush runs on the program of Stop Thinking.
He was dead on right about things he was talking about. Every damn thing, really.
What I would love to see is somebody doing an essential Paul Goodman or a portable Paul Goodman that would really bring together, 600 pages, 500 pages.
Paul was a grown-up who was interested in making his adulthood available to young people. In that way, he defined himself as a teacher.
It is important for people to know who Paul Goodman is, because Paul Goodman is a person who looked at the world and said, it doesn't have to be this way.